So today I'm joined by Jeff Winter, recently appointed Senior Director of Industry Strategy and Manufacturing for Hitachi Solutions America. I've had the pleasure of speaking to Jeff on a number of occasions over the last few years, followed his journey, as I'm sure many people have, in personal branding and building up a real presence as an influencer across Industry 4.0. So, Jeff, great to speak with you today.
I'm excited to be here.
Good, good. And right at the start of a new challenge for you as well. So exciting times.
Yes, I know.
So one of the things that's been really important or really interesting, I feel, over the last couple of years following you is seeing how this role of influencer within the industrial world has begun to grow. And you've really sort of taken the bull by the horns with that and I suppose got a really strong presence in there, and we'll come to that in a moment and what the stats look like. But I wondered if you could begin by telling us a bit about why you feel it's important and what you see as the importance of personal branding, in your opinion, within this particular sector.
So I think the idea of personal branding has always been important, but when you're in a in-person setting, your ability to control your brand is much more determined by how you interact with people in front of you. Once the pandemic happened and we were all at home and all we could see each other was digital, virtual
Yeah.
versions of it, your digital personal brand became significantly more important. What did you show to the world online?
Mhm.
And that was a big emphasis of what I actually put my effort into, is what my digital personal brand is, not just my personal brand out and about at conferences, meeting clients, doing things, where I could control my brand one-on-one. And so I made a concerted effort to build up a digital personal brand, which is a little different because you now have people who can look you up and read stuff about you and navigate how they control it rather than just what you happen to say when you're in front of them. I
Yeah.
used LinkedIn was my primary medium to be able to broadcast this brand to the world. My main strategy was thought leadership, so speaking, writing, joining conferences and associations and academic groups, and then using the tool of LinkedIn to broadcast this to the world and to allow it to be a place that people could come back to check me out or verify me or my credibility and what I know and what I do.
Yeah, I suppose we see it a lot these days, don't we? Whether it's sales processes or whatever it might be, we're constantly being told how people are better informed in each process prior to even meeting with a person. And I suppose making that first impression count digitally is massively impactful as well.
Well, I
Um,
agree. And what most people don't realize is how frequently you're actually looked up on
yeah,
LinkedIn specifically, because it's the one platform, the only platform out there that you can directly search for very specific people to get information about them and connect with them. And if you're in any sort of new role where you're trying to establish a relationship with someone, there's a high likelihood that they're going to be looking you up.
yeah,
This is even significantly more important in a service industry where your people end up becoming the products that you're selling, where you're providing a service and they want to know who's performing this service, what skills do they have, what knowledge do they have, how do I validate their credibility on the subject. And so you need to have a brand that reflects exactly what you want to show, which in most cases your subject matter expertise. I
yeah.
know these things, I'm good at these things, and I want everyone to know it.
So that was leads on to my next question actually, which is with personal branding and business requirements, when these two worlds meet, how powerful can that actually be? And I suppose you sort of answered that already with it's the maybe the credibility part of it. That's where it becomes really powerful.
So there's two main ways I like to break this up. There's a subject matter expert and there is a thought leader. I would argue everyone out there needs to be a subject matter expert and is a subject matter expert in something. You know something really well and you're good at something. Are you conveying that to the world? I don't care if you're in marketing, I don't care if you're sales, engineering, doesn't matter. You know something and you're good at something. Are you broadcasting that to the world? That's a reactionary activity, though. You're not pushing it, but you're at least broadcasting it for people to look up. Let's say you're an engineer on a project. You want to look credible when people come look you up. All
Mhm.
right. So it's about having everything there when people look you up, the way that you want to be conveyed. The
Yeah,
other is thought leadership. Now that's adding your opinion and your influence onto things and pushing them out to the world, where people then seek you out because they want to hear from you. They want your opinion on the subjects. They view you as on the forefront of, technology and on the space that you're in, whatever it is, and they want your opinion. I want to know what you think on this. I want to know where you think things are going or anything about it. And then you become someone that's actually sought after. That's a very powerful business aspect, is when you get pulled into places rather than the sales approach of you pushing into places. And that was one thing that's been pretty successful for me. Is I'm at a point now in my thought leadership journey where I get pulled into conferences, client meetings, all sorts of stuff without even having to push for any of it.
Yeah, yeah. I know something I see from my side on the recruitment side of the fence when I'm looking for talent in the industry across, especially across Industry 4.0. There's so many large companies, SMEs, companies of all different sizes that are doing so many innovative things around technology, around the Industry 4.0 space. Arguably one of the more innovative and creative spaces for technology at the moment. But what I see a lot is that message isn't really coming from the organizations, it is coming more from the individual. And perhaps that's where this thought leadership position takes on even more of an impact.
Well, I agree, because if you look at it statistically, people like to buy from people, and they do buy from people, not nameless, faceless companies. Unless you're just doing a pure online, excuse me, transactional order, you're interfacing with the person, and that person has a profound impact on your experience with the organization.
Yeah.
So if you start to position your people as a bigger part of your go-to-market strategy, it changes the way that your company's perceived. There's a higher likelihood that people will engage with your content, engage with your website, if they know there's a person behind it. It's the difference between having things like on your website, having an ask the expert section versus no. Ask our cybersecurity expert, Tony. Ask our smart manufacturing expert, Tina. That is, more people are willing to type stuff in because they feel they're connected to a person rather than some nameless, faceless company that they don't know who in the back is going to be responding to them. The more you can personalize it, the more people are wanting to engage. It's not just I'm going to work with that company, I'm going to work with that specific person at that company.
Yeah, they're going to look after me. They're going to take me through the journey. They're going to make me feel comfortable about whatever it is I'm about to embark upon. I'm working with an expert, and this is the person I'm working with. Definitely makes sense. With regards to marketing, branding, influencing, um, I would guess that one thing which is probably always returned to is the question of how tangible the outcomes are. And I guess you regularly have the question around how do we monetize the impact that you have. Um, it's it's maybe a difficult question to answer, but how do you go about answering that? How do you go about answering the question of uh, a tangible output from an influential platform?
I think that all comes back to what you're trying to accomplish with it. Trying to clarify or increase brand awareness is different than brand engagement, which is different than leads, which is different than, targeted specific account access or a level of relationship you're trying to build. So depending on what you're trying to target, there are different ways of looking at that. If brand awareness is one of them, you can measure things like your website engagement. Is the fact that Jeff doing all this stuff out there actually increasing our website traffic? Is it resulting in more people attending our webinars or downloading our white papers, which would be more the engagement with the brand? Is it resulting in more marketing qualified leads as an output of it? Or are we trying to get into specific accounts? As a good example, I've been used several times before to go, hey, Jeff, we're trying to get in this account and we're not having we're having trouble doing it and we need some help. Can you try and get into this account? I can send a few messages. Oftentimes, if it's on the subjects that I, promote out there, Industry 4.0 related stuff, and I've had a very high success rate of getting in and meeting people in that account on behalf of the sales team trying to get in. So if that's one of the goals, you can, clearly or quickly measure that and go, hey, we got into 16 accounts that we didn't have access to before, or whatever the thing is. So there are ways to measure each particular aspect of it.
I suppose it just comes down to having a well thought through strategy, doesn't it? So the hard work is being done on a daily basis by you in promoting the work that you do, your brand, the background work that you do as well to put out the work that you share with people, and a lot of that, you're sharing thought leadership, that you're not asking for anything for it. You just, you're sharing your expertise. I suppose if there's a strategy in place, as you say, where you define quite early on what do you want to achieve with this branding or with this positioning, and then you can get to that tangible output. When we caught up last time, and you'd just recently been ranked at #1 in Onalytica's branding poll, and what was really interesting with that was that you outranked global businesses, multi-billion turnover, multinational companies in that ranking. Um, is that something? Do you think that needs to change? Do you think that companies like the ones that you work with, work for, work in partnership with, need to improve, and they need to be at the higher up on these polls, or do you think it has more impact when it is the individual working with the business that carries that thought leadership? Does there need to be a power shift? What do you think works best?
I think it needs to be both. You need to have the company build their brand to be seen as a leader in a particular space. But I would argue that company should have a thought leadership strategy, a component of their overall go to market and content strategy. They're different, go to market and content.
Mhm.
You should have thought leadership as a part of it. And depending on the size of your organization, you will have more thought leaders. You're not going to just put it all in one person. At a very, very large company, you might end up having hundreds of thought leaders there. And so you're having your brand as a company being seen as this space, as the technological leader or as the most knowledgeable company, best in class. And we've got all these people associated with it, each with their own sets of knowledge, skills, styles, where it's almost like a two-pronged approach. You may go, whoa, I just love what the company's doing, and I just love what Jeff's doing. And they come together, assuming you have a company that's putting it all together, that's enabling and supporting the thought leaders and enabling and supporting thought leadership as a
Yeah.
process. Are you including it in the sales process? Are you teaching your salespeople how to sell the thought leader? Not just the product, but the actual person that they're going to be working with. And that's a different way of, engaging as an organization. Because if you just have two thought leaders and they're off doing their own thing, it will be less and less effective. Is if your company goes, hey, we've identified these two people. This is how we're going to work them into the marketing and sales process. This is how they're going to link back to everything that we're doing. And we'll just go then kind of let them run with it. But they're there endorsing, supporting, and pushing this activity.
I suppose it comes at a really interesting time as well, because we're seeing, particularly in the industrial world, so many major businesses moving from product to solution and integrating solution sales and what they do. And that's, I guess, in reaction to an audience or customer base which is more demanding in terms of wanting an overall solution as opposed to just pure product. And I guess in what you're saying is working with somebody like yourself, the sales team, product team, engineering team, they're gaining a different kind of insight which can help on that solution journey as well, aren't they? They're becoming more accountable for the customer output, the customer experience, and then reacting to what the market's asking for, which is this more solution focused delivery.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. You're complementing. So every company has a product that they sell. The product could be a service, it could be a thing, but they have something that they're actually selling.
Yeah.
And you have one approach, which I still think companies should do, to say why that thing, whatever that thing is awesome. What problems it solves, why we're better than the competition, just why that thing is awesome. It's an entirely different angle to go, we understand the industry, the technology, the whatever it is better than everyone else. So you end up having people come to you because they go, oh, your product is awesome, and I want to learn about it and how it solves my problem. Or I don't know what I don't know, and I'm in an
Yeah.
educational mode, and I'm looking for the company that actually understands this space the best. That's where thought leadership comes in. And they'll come in through the thought leaders that way and then back down through the products. So it just gives another avenue for people to view your company differently. If you make the best products in the world, in whatever space that you have, you want to keep that going. But you also want to know, but we also know the space better than everyone in the world. Come to us with your questions, your thoughts, your guidance, help with strategy, trends and statistics, best practices. And we're the ones that you should come to, for everything, in that space. That's different than come to us when you want to buy a product.
Absolutely. So we mentioned at the start of the discussion that you've recently announced your next challenge. So exciting times again ahead for you. Maybe you could tell us a bit more about what the future does look like, what you're going to be involved in, what we should expect to see from you over the coming months. It might be a bit of a whirlwind for a few weeks. And the other thing I'd really love to learn from you is, if you had to pick kind of one trend that you believe will be in the headlines in 2023 for industrial tech, what do you think it would be? A year from now, what will we look back on 2023 as maybe it was X that made an impact, or this is what we saw happening?
Sure. I'll start with that one. That one's easy. I mean, it's going to be ChatGPT. It already has been, and it will continue to be. But I think over the course of the remainder of the year, it's going to be more application based, and we're going to have more stuff happening under our belt. It's already taken over for something everyone knows. Everyone understands its power, but they're still trying to figure out how to apply it to my particular job function, to my particular task. And people are experimenting a lot right now. And once we're not talking years, months of being able to leverage this, learn about it, and then start to aggregate those statistics back, we're going to be able to share them with the world. Because one thing that makes ChatGPT conceptually, it's all generative AI, I'm just saying ChatGPT to represent it, is the fact that it's so easy to implement. So it's not like you need years to be able to start to experiment. You can get it up and running in your organization in hours if you have the data there. And so you're seeing companies experiment with this today at unheard of levels. And so that is, I think, going to be the biggest thing. I can't tell you where it's going to end at the year outside of it's still going to be a very, very high talking point, but I think we are going to switch to more what people have done and showing its value rather than right now it's a lot of what it can do as part of it. So to answer your question about the job transition thing, I'm very excited about it because at Microsoft, I was really more of a high-level sales support function designed to give Microsoft and the sales team, the whole selling and specialty team, credibility in manufacturing, because my entire career has been manufacturing, and not all the people in those roles have ever been in a manufacturer. So they need someone like me to help educate, train them, and to give credibility talking to clients that we understand their problems and how the technology relates to their problems. At Hitachi Solutions, I'm excited because I'm going to be more in a strategic role, which I think is a better fit for my skills, my knowledge, my passions, where I'm going to be guiding Hitachi Solutions on basically answering the question, what do they do in manufacturing?
Yeah.
Who should we be targeting? How should we be targeting? What should our capabilities and solutions be? What's our differentiator? And guiding the marketing team, the product team, the sales team, the delivery team, so that it all kind of cohesively works together so that we become the, number one seen manufacturing integrator out there for digital transformation. So I'm excited. It's actually a new role. So I also thrive in ambiguity. I love kind of coming into a role where you're defining it as you started. And I love those situations. And it probably shows in a lot of stuff I talk about is taking complex, nebulous topics and being able to solidify them and make them tangible and easily understandable. So that's going to be the fun part of the job.
That sounds fantastic. So, congratulations again. And thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure. And let's see how the year maps out.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jeff.